Kristen, and then I'll hand it over to you and let you roll with it, okay?
Yep, that works.
Thank you all for joining us for this 8th session of the Women and Minorities in Business series. My name is Billy Roberts with Locust, formerly Virginia Community Capital. We are a community development financial institution that provides lending, investing, and community innovation services. If you haven't received information on our new name and would like some more information, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer questions directly after the session. For this empowering 10-week journey dedicated to fostering success and inclusivity. This series is designed to provide women and minority business leaders with the essential skills and strategies needed to excel in today's ever-evolving workplace environment. Today's session will be recorded for training and educational purposes. Before we get started, to keep everything flowing and stay within our 1-hour goal, we have muted everybody, but we do want to hear from you. So you can put things in the chat, and I'll be sure to let Kristen know when there is a question or a comment. And then, Kristen, you can guide if you want discussion throughout. Of course, we're usually pretty good at offering feedback with that as well. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce one of our remarkable speakers who will be sharing their insights with us about the importance of emotional intelligence and leadership in the workplace. Kristin Goff is a senior project manager for Volvo Group in Dublin, Virginia. She has over 18 years of experience in lean manufacturing, project management, logistics, industrial processes, and advanced manufacturing methods. The New River Valley Assembly Plant is the largest Volvo Trucks manufacturing facility in the world. The site employs over 3,500 people and produces all Volvo trucks sold in North America. As a senior project manager for Volvo Group, Kristen acts as a change agent and leader driving industrialization efforts and process development required to build the next generation Volvo truck. Her responsibility is focused on the truck's chassis. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Which consists of managing a project budget of over $18 million and leading a cross-functional team to execute the deliverables required to assemble the new chassis platform on the moving production line. Kristen spent the first 15 years of her career with General Electric in Salem, Virginia, where she held many roles, including shipping operations leader, manufacturing engineer, project manager, and lean leader. Kristen graduated from Virginia Tech with a Bachelor of Science in Industrial and Systems Engineering and a Master's in Business Administration. She's a member of PMI and a certified project management professional. And Kristen lives on her family's farm in Floyd, Virginia, with her husband, son, and 2 doodles. Take it away, Kristen.
Thank you. That was a good introduction. I will share my screen. Put this in presentation mode.
Perfect. We can see it.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit today about leadership styles and emotional intelligence. A half an hour or 45 minutes is a short time frame to talk about these 2 topics. So we're going to stay pretty high level. I know personally on my side, I have had week-long sessions just on these topics. I have done leadership development courses with both General Electric and a Women in Leadership course with Volvo that was several weeks long. So I've reviewed these topics many times in those courses and similar courses, and this is a tight time frame, so we're just going to stay pretty high level, and then I'm open to questions or comments, and we can dive deeper where we need to during this session. So most of my background, Billy already went through, so I just wanted to share some pictures of my doodles and my family. I am from Floyd County, Virginia. That's a picture of our farm, and went to Virginia Tech. And then my dad owns a trucking company in Elliston, Virginia, where he has mostly Mack trucks. And Mack is actually owned by Volvo Group. So I work at Volvo in Dublin. And then a lot of my experience in my career was with General Electric in Salem, like she mentioned. All right, so we're going to go through leadership styles first, and we're going to learn about the different types of leadership, and then we're going to discuss emotional intelligence, what it is, and how it's important for you to be a good leader, to have that skill set. So there's several different models, and in the different training courses I've had, we've learned about many, many different models of leadership that have been developed by, different educational institutes and research developers that have really spent the time to dive deep into the different styles of leadership. Today, we're going to focus on Dr. Daniel Goleman's 6 styles of leadership, which is, in my opinion, the most popular, and it's used more commonly in leadership training sessions to go through that. So that's the one that's here, that's large on the right side of the screen, that has the 6 different styles of leadership. So we'll go through each of those and kind of just discuss the differences between the styles, so that you can learn more about them and recognize the leaders that you have in your life and what kind of leader you think you are. So leadership styles, pace setting is the first type of leader. And their goal really is to accomplish tasks to a really high standard of excellence. I think personally, I'm part pace setting, and then I'm also part coaching, which is the next one we'll go over. But I try to lead by example. I want, the folks on my team to see me working hand in hand with them, to try to accomplish the deliverables for the team, whether it's within my role or not. If it's something that I can help with, I don't mind extending that and helping the team, meet the deliverables, no matter what type of task it is. They have high standards and expectations, which, if you ask my husband, he will say that I have high standards and expectations, not only at work, but at home as well. I do tend to be apprehensive, about delegating tasks. Certain things, especially projects that have been under my, leadership and direction for a period of time. It's very hard for me to delegate the tasks that I have been working on. Right now, we have completely restructured our organization, and I was in charge, of chassis for the whole program platform, and now we are going to an agile way of working. Which we have broken up our teams into sections of the production line. So my new role is only dealing with a certain section of that production line. And so some of the tasks that I was doing before, I have to hand off to other project managers at this point. And that's been challenging for me. So that's one of the things that a pace setting leader will have challenges with. And then little sympathy for poor performance is also another trait of a pace setting leader. Coaching. So I think I'm part coaching as well. I really like to develop talent and provide, constructive feedback and coach others to tackle tasks that maybe they haven't done before, or help them work on some of their professional, weaknesses, and coach them through that. So a coach, right? They are focused on the long-term development of their staff, not so much just the day-to-day performance. And so they really help a team member identify their strengths, their weaknesses. They want to send them to training. They want to, coach them and make sure that they are learning as they're working through, their role. I had a coaching style leadership during my term at General Electric, and I was very brand new manufacturing engineer in a very highly technical field of circuit board assembly manufacturing. And even though I was new and I didn't have a lot of experience in that field, he still allowed me to make decisions. He sent me to training, right? And I learned the basics of the technology and got a good foundation. And once he knew I had that foundation, he allowed me to make decisions, large capital decisions, related to that manufacturing area of our business. And not all of those decisions were the best. Looking back on it, those are some of the times that I learned the most, but I made a lot of mistakes. And he was willing as a coach to allow me to learn from those mistakes. I bought pieces of equipment that we never got up and running, that essentially were a waste to the business at that time. Hard mistakes that were made, but he allowed me to do that to support my long-term development and allow me to learn from that during that period of time. Visionary is another style of leadership. So they are going to provide a really good long-term direction, a vision of the future. Sometimes this can be several years out. We have some visionary leaders within Volvo, and they have provided us with some guidance even out to, 2030, out to that length of time, and more detailed vision for the next 3 to 4 years. So they will, ask for some input on the vision or how we get to that vision, and they really want to focus on the whys. So, here at Volvo, we have this vision, and they spent a lot of time selling us on the whys. We need to be quicker to market. There's a lot of new emerging technologies that we need to stay on the forefront of and release products that have those new technologies. And so we've had several sessions, right, where the plant leadership has addressed the manufacturing engineering team and operations on all the changes that we expect to see over the next 3 to 5 years. Commanding. So I think most of us have been on a team with a commanding leader at some point in time. But these leaders expect, immediate compliance. When they say something, they expect you to jump, right? They give a lot of directives. They monitor you closely. They control the team, and they tend to motivate with negative consequences, or, some of them even, publicly correct your performance, which can be challenging to deal with as well. So, these leaders, often when you're in meetings with them, people are afraid to speak. They don't want to say anything that the commanding leader disagrees with. So there's a lot more listening instead of collaborating in the room. And you can usually, when the commanding leader is around, it sets the tone for the environment and the surrounding environment. Democratic. We are bringing in some democratic leadership styles with this new agile way of working that we have, that we've started at Volvo. They really want to develop these self-managing teams, these agile teams, to help drive our deliverables needed for the projects that we have coming forward. So they want, for the democratic leadership, right, they want to build commitment among the team and generate, new ideas, and really encourage and have faith in the team to self-direct towards the goals that they've been provided. In this style, there's a lot of rewards for good performance, but very rarely do you see negative feedback given in the democratic style. Affiliative. So these leadership styles, they really want to create harmony and keep everybody happy. Lots of team building events, friendly interactions. You'll see this leadership style, providing a lot of complimentary items in the office place, really provide a lot of positive feedback. They want to focus on the emotional needs and make sure that everybody on the team is happy with the environment, and that's their main focus. So those are the 6 types of leadership styles. And, I think a lot of them, when you think about it, we'll flip back through, there are some good traits and times when you need to model other leadership styles, right? But there's several here, right? That in the workplace, I would prefer to have someone who is, pace setting or coaching. And then in some situations, right, we need to be a different type of leader. Like in my household with my 8-year-old, right? Sometimes I have to be this commanding leader, and really to be, a comprehensive leader and have all of those traits that you need to lead in different situations, you need to have a little bit of each of these. And in certain situations, you have to use one style or the other. So in the workplace, right, one thing that pairs with that leadership style that's really important and contributes a lot to what style of leadership is the level of emotional intelligence that the leader has. When I think of the leaders that I've had throughout the years, I can clearly point out, right, which ones were really great at emotional intelligence and which ones, their strengths, their weaknesses, and what they could do better in terms of emotional intelligence to improve that. It really highlights it when you learn more about the different parts of emotional intelligence. So we're going to go through those so that you can see the differences, and I'll give you some really interesting examples from my career and my life that I've seen. So emotional intelligence is the ability to manage both your own emotions and understand the emotions of the people around you. So this includes self-awareness, self-management in the workplace, social awareness, and relationship management with our coworkers and direct reports. So the first is self-awareness, and that's the ability to understand your own strengths and weaknesses. A lot of the leadership courses I did, when you deep dive into this self-awareness, it's enlightening, right? You take personality tests. You take different quizzes that show where you are in your confidence level and in your leadership styles, in your personality. And it really helps you identify what strengths that you have, and so that you can lean on those strengths in the workplace, but also your weaknesses and things that you want to work on. So if you have the opportunity to take one of those personality tests or learn more about that, I encourage you to. It's always enlightening to me, and it definitely points out where I need to work on myself when I take those quizzes. So self-awareness, right? Understanding, how your emotions and actions impact your team. So an example of this, right, is, if you have a team member that is constantly negative, right, and they bring that negativity to every team meeting, they come in and they sit down and they're slouched over, and, they're constantly, their brows furrowed and they're just not happy to be there. Those emotions that they're showing in those meetings, stress or frustration, they impact the whole team. When they come in to meetings and like that. So just understanding that, what's on your face, your body language, even the things you say, they can impact the whole team, not just you. And so, one of the main points to that, right, is to bring out the best in other people on your team as a leader. You really got to bring out the best in yourself, right? You have to come every day prepared to handle whatever challenges are put in front of you without um, emotionally blowing up or getting frustrated. Um, my example for this one, right? My friend Joe, we were at our son's baseball practice a few weeks ago, and she was telling us about her job and her coworkers that she worked with. And one of the things that she pointed out was she's like, well, I just put my headphones on and listen to my headphones all day long while I'm doing my work on my computer. She's like, because there's this lady beside me that always has noise coming out of her body, whether she's eating something or she's talking to herself or she's, fidgeting with something, clicking on her desk, typing, with the ends of her fingernails. She, she's like, I just can't stand it. So I put my headphones on and I don't talk to anybody all day and I do my work. And I thought about that when I was going through this slide and thinking about what I wanted to say today. And that's one of the things that, you never think about is, how am I acting within my workplace and how does that impact how others communicate with me? Things like, when someone comes up to your desk, right, and you put down your phone or you turn away from your laptop to listen to what they have to say and like look them in the eye, that makes a big difference in, how they want to communicate with you the next time, or if they do. In my case, and my friend Joe, right, if her coworker had something work related that was important for the team to share with her, it would be hard for her to share it with Joe because her headphones are constantly on. She's blocked this coworker out, right, for most of the day because of those little habits that she does. So little things, personal habits can really be impacting how others see you in the workplace. So just being self-aware of those things is a good start. Self-management. So the capacity to manage your emotions and your ability to really handle those challenges and setbacks in the workplace. So if you're thrown a new challenge, let's say, a lot of times I'll be working on a project and they'll say, oh, well, we need to double the volume, or we're taking a completely different direction and we're not going to assemble that product, in this area anymore. You've got to completely change and shift directions. Your ability to be able to handle those challenges and say, okay, understand why the decision was made and then, move forward. Okay, what do we need to do now to shift? And this is the impact, right? How you can do that without getting, verbally or physically angry about the change or decision, or withdrawn. People see that and how you handle those challenges. And, when they think you can handle those challenges well, right, that's when you get identified for potential opportunities in the future to handle even more challenging things. So showing that you can handle setbacks, challenges, new things put on your plate without getting emotional or unstable with those happening, opens your ability and opens your ability and to do more things in the future, right? Your leadership will see, hey, she can handle challenges and things that I throw at her without getting emotional, and she works through it, right? Works well. So my example for this, I have a coworker that some of us have nicknamed Chicken Little, because when he has a project, every challenge within his project is the most important, and that it's all he talks about is he goes from one person to the next in the room and says, oh, well, they just said that we can't run my truck next week and I don't know what I'm going to do. And they won't give me the money for this tool and it's a requirement. And so every little problem with his project, that's what he does. He bounces from person to person, just communicating all the problems with his project. Right. And so what that has done over time, has taught people really honestly to avoid him, right? Because if he's just going to come to you to tell you about all his problems, but not, sit at his desk and work through those problems, right? It discourages people, and they don't want that negativity. um if he wants help working through the problems, I've tried that several times, right? Okay, well, you've got this challenge. Let's see, how do we work through that, right? Can escalate it to our boss, or can you see if you can fund that tool through another budget line item? And he eventually works through, I think, a lot of his challenges, right? But the perception that others have in the office of him, and know when they see him coming, right, he's just going to unload all of his problems on them, impacts how others interact with him, and the amount of respect really that they have for him in the office. So that's just one thing to keep in mind as well. Social awareness. So your aptitude for recognizing others' emotions, and really having empathy for that, and communicate how you communicate with them in those emotions. So, we all have things that go on outside of work, right? The more that you can build relationships with your coworkers, with your other leaders, with people, your direct reports, to know what's going on in their life, to know that the name of their children or their spouse, how is Betty doing today? And, what did y'all do this weekend? A lot of that shows empathy, right? That you care about their life outside of what they do for you on a day-to-day basis. And building that social awareness, that network with your coworkers, really opens up that line of communication, so that when there is a huge issue that we need to know about from a leadership perspective, right? If they feel like they have a good line of communication with you, even non-work related and work related, then they won't be afraid to come to you and say, "Hey, we've got a big problem here." So that's social awareness, how you interact with those in your environment. Are they comfortable speaking with you? That's all a big piece of emotional intelligence. I have a manager that I've worked with for several years, and he has a huge amount of empathy. When we talk about how good of a leader he is, we say, he really cares about us. Our day-to-day life, he cares. We know he cares, and that's why, we think he's a good leader. But on the opposite side of that, his professional communication is probably one of his weaknesses, right? He repeats himself, the same statement several times. He doesn't have confidence in what he's saying. Sometimes he asks questions that make you think that he does not have the confidence in what he's saying, or he wants validation in his comments from the people in the room. So on one hand, right, he has great social awareness in terms of empathy, but then how he communicates on the other side can have a major impact on his overall emotional intelligence and perception as a leader. And the last one is relationship management. So your ability to influence others, to mentor, to coach. How well do you communicate with other people and lead them and help them learn throughout their challenges? Really is a key part of emotional intelligence, right? Can you maintain those relationships with the people that you're leading? Can you help them resolve conflict within each other, with you, and work through that? A lot of the studies have said that, the impact of unaddressed conflict is a major contributor to lack of efficiency in the workplace, to increase turnover, decrease in morale. So being able to have those relationships with the folks on the team and help discuss the issues within the team with the individuals to help resolve those conflicts is really a key point of leadership, right? Because if we ignore that side of it, then the team itself gets very frustrated, right? That those conflicts or issues aren't being addressed. So relationship management is the fourth piece of that. And this is really the last statement I had. And again, this is from Goldman, so I wanted to pull it in here. Remember, he was the one. Dr. Goldman was the author of the book and the model for the 6 types of leadership, right? So the most effective leaders are all alike in one crucial way. They all have a high degree of emotional intelligence. It's not that, their IQ or their technical skills in that field, right, are irrelevant. They matter, but they are the entry-level qualifications, for those executive positions. But to be a true leader, the emotional intelligence is a crucial part of being successful. Are there any questions or sections that we can go back to and discuss anymore? Or does anybody have any examples like mine from the workplace that
that
you'd like to review with the team?
Well, I'll go back to the one where you're talking about self-management. And it just popped into my head big time about also getting attached to projects, right? Like putting your whole heart into something, and then it could be anything that like causes it not to happen. It can affect your morale. It can affect, your next project because, you're like, well, I'm not going to do all this work and nothing's going to come to fruition. And being able to manage that, right, is a big deal and I think it's a boundary thing, right? Like so ownership is good, right? Like some sort of ownership, but then there's a healthy a bit of ownership because it's really not yours. Like understanding, this really doesn't belong to me. And you just kind of go with the flow and move on to the next thing. So yeah, that was a big lesson for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we had that challenge with a SAP implementation at GE, right? We worked for a year, developing, setting up these systems to work with our process. And then, leadership from several levels above us cut the funding for it. So we didn't actually get to roll out that SAP implementation after we'd done all of that work to train and set up the system. And so when abrupt changes like that happen that impact your progress and your delivery, right, of what you've been working on, it's challenging to manage that emotionally. But how you handle that and how you move forward with your next project, right, and how the other leaders and your team sees that, right? Okay, yep, that last project, it didn't work out, right? Maybe we'll pick it up again in a few years, but let's move forward. We've got this, and this to work on, and how you handle that really makes an impact on the team.
I think so too. So are you over teams? Like, are you managing teams there?
Yeah. So before, we've just changed right within the last 3 months to a new agile way of working, agile project management style. So right now I'm a product owner for a section of the line from where we install fifth wheels. It includes where we put the engine in the chassis and the exhaust treatment system, all the way through to where we deck the cab. So that section of the line, I'm responsible not only for our new product project platform, but now, the electric truck, e-mobility truck, and, projects we have coming in the future, like an autonomous vehicle. All of the projects if they impact that section of the line, I'm now responsible for that scope within that section. And so I have an agile team with a scrum master and team members. So I manage the project backlog and I set the priorities. So I'm leading that team right now. Whereas the past 3 years before that, I was working on the total new project platform for all of the chassis line. And so it has been a shift, right? Me shifting some of my work and deliverables that I was responsible for to other teams, while also trying to take on a new role and other tasks that needed to be done. But yes, I lead a team. I led a team before. I'm leading a team now as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure these are things like you said, I can relate and I can point out managers that fit every single type of leadership personality.
Style,
yeah. Or style that you're talking about. But then I kind of wonder where I lie, or how others see me, because I may feel like I'm extremely democratic, but I have a feeling I'm on the pace setting with you. Yeah. On that. Yeah. Nadine, we're so happy that you can make it. She usually likes to chime, but she missed the personality types. But I have a feeling that you're probably pace setting too. I'll send you the slides. Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize for my tardiness. I was out playing on a job site.
So maybe what I would be interested too, Kristen, is where you, I'm sure the majority of the your colleagues are men, whether they're superiors or even who you were leading, you're the team lead for. And Nadine is in a man's world. A lot of us really are. Even Jenny, working with small businesses and local governments, we all are. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your experiences with that and how honing in on your emotional intelligence, or maybe there's specific things that you did.
Yeah. And I think, so I guess in my working, in a manufacturing engineering group team here, of course, for truck manufacturing, I'm probably, I don't know, one female to every 20 males on the leadership side of it. I think it's a little bit more even on the actual, hourly assembly operation side. But I think, the communication aspect of it has helped a lot. And being a female in that environment, it almost, to me, it's almost beneficial, because a lot of times they need someone, right, to rally their thoughts together and to communicate and make sure that we're on the same page. I was on a meeting this morning where, the team had several members that got together, and we were talking about, network drop locations for a new subassembly area that was going in over Christmas. And one of the team members, it was 5 engineers together, right? And I was the only female, and we were discussing it, and I was listening to what one engineer said, but I don't think that the other engineers understood it, right? But I know I did. So I spend a lot of my time, I feel like, translating and communicating to make sure that everybody gets the message and we're all on the same page. I would say, 25 to 50% of my time I spend, making sure that communication is clear and who is responsible for what and what needs to be done. And it has helped my projects tremendously just from taking that role, which, typically females are really good at. So,
yeah, I can relate. I now that you mention it, I feel like I probably did a lot of that as well in some of my roles. Interesting.
Yeah, and it was, I think it was one of the things that I was just accustomed to growing up, because my father, I traveled a lot with him, whether it was on vacation or we went to a lot of away Virginia Tech football games. But I traveled with him, and when we went to big cities, and say we went to get our rental car wherever, I often had to translate um, Southwest Virginia redneck to, normal English so that the rental car attendant could understand what was being said. So I got used to listening to what my dad said and then putting it in a format that others could understand to a certain degree.
That's so interesting. Same, right? I definitely can
And my
relate.
dad's a business leader, right? He has, over 25 employees and has a successful trucking company. But communication isn't always his strong suit, right? So I spend a lot of time helping with that.
That's cool. Nadine, Jenny, do you guys want to say anything or have any questions?
For me, and trust me, I just got the very tail end of this, but it's very interesting. The emotional translation. Sometimes I feel like they almost, like some men almost default to, well, she'll tell them what it means. It all depends on your group that you're in. If you have a group that is working hard together and everybody's on the same mode, that's awesome. Being able to interpolate everything. But I have had the instance where my leaders have not had very good emotional intelligence and have almost flippantly like, well, she'll figure it out. She'll tell everybody. So that's interesting.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cases where I'm getting to the point where I need to start doing that, right? I have some really good leaders, but to be honest, some of those leaders, they need that feedback too. And I took a leadership course at Crotonville, which, General Electric, that was one of their General Electric had a campus for learning with their employees. If you haven't heard of it, it was called Crotonville. I think they recently sold it, but it was a campus where they sent all of their employees for training. And I took training at Crotonville, and a leadership course specifically, and the lady teaching the course said, sometimes, even if they're your leadership, you need to give them that feedback. And it's so hard, right? Because they could be the ones that are, in charge of your performance review, right? But some of these things that they really need to hear. And she gave feedback to someone that was her superior that, hey, and it's little things, right? Your perception, how people perceive you is important. And that includes grooming, right? So she told him, she said, hey, you would really improve, your, I guess, appearance and how people see you if you trimmed your nose hairs. Right. And you think about it, there are people out there that little things like that could make you perceive them in a different light, right? Better light if they took care of their nose hair, their ear hair, whatever it is, right? And she took that step to give them the feedback, even though it, she did it, personally off to the side, right? Nobody else knew that she gave that feedback, but it probably made a huge difference, going forward with others that dealt with him on a day-to-day basis.
I don't think I could have ever done that. Ever.
Me neither, but there are a lot of people that need it, and I'm going to figure out how to do better at that, because there are people that need that feedback.
Right. Well, like even on a different level, when I probably was in a situation that feedback to a manager, even if it wasn't about me, but like just in general, how like you were talking about, maybe he was a commanding leadership style and needed to go into a different type of leadership style depending on the person he was dealing with. And I could have probably helped with that, but chose to not. So I think it's determining, when is it my lane and when is it not, right? Or do I just concentrate on my lane
Yeah.
So that's hard, right? Like,
Yeah. And in that particular example, that with the commanding, leadership style, I provided that feedback recently. It was anonymous, right? But we did have, a huge change in leadership, and we went from a very collaborative culture to a very commanding culture with just a couple of the new leaders that came in.
right,
And we had, our annual, I guess, assessment where they ask you those type of questions of, how your job satisfaction or your leadership, questions about that, and ask for comments. And that's one of
mhm,
the things that I put in there, right? Is that we had moved from, a collaborative leadership style culture to a more commanding culture. And I gave specific examples so that they could take that feedback and use it, right? That I had been in meetings with this leader and other leaders on his team. And I've seen those other leaders say something, him interrupt, and then them kind of like wince and, become closed off again, and not be confident in what they're saying and afraid to say things in the room with him. So I gave that specific example as feedback so that they, if they read it,
right,
which they do, that it would get, they would understand the example and what
right.
led to that feedback.
Well, it's such good information to have as a corporation, because that it's like, you want to talk about something growing really fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually the not so positive things, but when there's not opinions and create to stifle that creativity, right? Or,
Mm-hmm.
from having all the input from all the minds in the room could be detrimental to your group, to Volvo,
Yep,
right?
for sure. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Nadine. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just listening and thinking about past experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, truthfully, I interject myself a lot into things, and I expect in my other positions now, I own my own business. So yeah, it's me, myself, and I at all times. But in other positions I've been in, I expected to be part of leadership discussions and office discussions, and that was kind of my role. And as soon as they cut me out and they made it a point to tell me that I was no longer to be involved in those kind of conversations, that is when I shut down immediately. And I was like, okay, you don't respect me on this team and what I'm bringing, and you're treating me in a different role. Cool. I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's a good point, Nadine. I have been in situations to where feedback was not asked for, right? Like I think that's really a good thing, is when a corporation or an organization comes in and says, hey, let us know what's happening, give us the feedback. I've been in several that didn't give us that opportunity. And I think that without that, right, and if it's an intimidating situation where you don't feel like you can address something that's bothering you, I think that's when you have to make that decision, right, Nadine? Like, is this place for me? Maybe I need to find another place.
Or being an advocate for your people. And if you feel like you cannot do that, if you feel like you are shut down and you cannot discuss those type of things, it becomes very detrimental, I think, to the whole organization.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Kristen, is there anything else you want to say before I wrap us up?
No, I hope everyone enjoyed the discussion today. And like I said, you could spend a whole week on each one of these topics. So if you ever get a chance to take, a more lengthy leadership course or class, I encourage you to do it, because you learn a lot about yourself and how to interact with other people and their personalities as well in those courses.
Yeah. And I think what I'll do, and if you have a suggestion, Kristen, I've taken the emotional intelligence quizzes before.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. And especially after, like, let's say you've done one a couple of years ago and then you do another one to see how how you answer those questions changes is really, really insightful. So yeah, if you have a suggestion on that, email me one, but there's a couple that I know of I'll include in our follow-up
Okay.
emails as well. So let's see, I just want to make sure. Okay. I'm going to also include a feedback. We were talking about feedback, a feedback survey in your guys' emails. So really would appreciate it if you guys take the time to help us with filling out your opinions or suggestions. If we continue to do this within the first quarter of next year, it'd be really nice to have all of that information. We're going to make sure that everybody gets the slides and the video, because Miss Sandy Ratliff makes sure to do all the cool editing for me with that. I really do appreciate her. And remember to reach out to any of us. Kristen, Sandy, or I are here to support you guys on your path to success. And Kristen, we are incredibly grateful for your time today. We know you're very busy. Your wisdom and your invaluable knowledge you've shared with us today, we really appreciate it. Thank you to Nadine, Jenny. You guys are always here. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for always showing up and participating. It really does make it great. And we look forward to seeing you guys in our upcoming sessions. The next session is going to be on Tuesday, December 5th at 11. Renee Anderson, who is the Global Sustainability Leader for Universal Fibers, will be joining us, and she's going to talk to us about overcoming obstacles and navigating difficult situations. I can't wait for that one either. These have all been great topics. Thank you guys. Until next time, stay inspired and stay connected.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, Kristen.